Hi y'all, this is Larry from Deep South Texas, and today we're going to make some quick and easy dinner rolls. Well, the holidays are approaching quickly, and it's always nice to have some fresh baked bread on hand for those holiday dinners. Now, our holiday gatherings will probably be a little bit smaller this year than they have been in the past, so I've cut this recipe in half, but there will still be plenty for all at the table. Now, this should be a fairly quick recipe for making yeast bread, and I will try to put the time in right here, how long it took me when I get done. So let's get started. First thing, I have 1 cup of milk that's been scalded and allowed to cool down, and that's 1 cup plus 1 tablespoon. We'll put that in our mixing bowl, and then we're going to sprinkle on top 2½ teaspoons of instant yeast. And we'll let that yeast rehydrate for a couple minutes, and then we'll stir it in. Well, the yeast is mostly hydrated right now. We'll just mix that up a little bit. And then we're going to add in 1/4 cup of sugar and mix that up. Now we're going to let that set until we can see that the yeast is active, about 5 or 10 minutes maybe. This step is not necessarily required with instant yeast, but some of you may be using active dry yeast, and then it's a good idea to follow this step. So we'll let that set for 5 or 10 minutes, and when it's activated, we'll carry on with the next steps. So I wanted to say a couple words about scalding milk when you're making bread. I think it originates back from a time when the milk wasn't necessarily pasteurized, so it helped to kill off some of those bugs that were in the raw milk and make it safe to bake with. But one of the other things scalding does is it denatures some protein that's in the milk that interferes with gluten production when you're making bread. So if your recipe calls for scalding the milk, go ahead and scald it. It's not just all about pasteurization. Well, it's been 10 minutes and I can see that my yeast is active. It's foaming up on top. So let's add the rest of the ingredients. I have 1 egg from our backyard chickens. We'll add that in. I have 1 teaspoon of salt and 6 tablespoons of butter that's been melted and allowed to cool a little bit. Get that mixed up a little bit, and then we'll start adding in our flour. So I have 3 cups of flour. This is King Arthur bread flour. Any kind of bread flour will work. In fact, I think all-purpose flour will probably work for this recipe as well. I wouldn't use whole wheat flour, and I wouldn't use self-rising flour, but usually whatever, you'll have something on hand that you can use. So anyway, that's 3 cups. We'll get that mixed in. We may add a little more liquid if we need to, but we won't really find that out till we get this all mixed up. So I got that all mixed up. I had to get my fingers in there to finish that up. And now we're just going to let it set for 20 minutes. Not really to rise, but more or less so that the flour soaks up all the available moisture there and sort of rehydrates a little bit. So we'll just cover that and come back in 20 minutes. So it's been 20 minutes. Let's move our dough out onto our breadboard here. And now we're going to knead it for about 8 minutes. It feels pretty good. I didn't add any extra liquid. Now it's going to start out a little bit sticky, and as we knead, it will lose that stickiness. So after 8 minutes, it should be really good. And I have this. I didn't put any flour down on the board, and I don't intend to. But I have this scraper here, and from time to time, we'll scrape some of this up and add it back to the ball. So like I say, I'm going to knead this for 8 minutes. You can do this in a stand mixer if you want with a dough hook. I find it somewhat relaxing just to knead the dough by hand. We'll get back about halfway through the kneading process to take another look at the dough. Well, we're about halfway through the kneading process now, and the dough is really feeling nice. We'll continue on another 4 minutes. We'll take a look at it then. Well, we're at the end of our kneading process, and the dough really feels nice. So now I'm going to just let this set for about 10 minutes. I'll cover it with some plastic wrap just to let the dough relax a little bit. And then after that 10 minutes, we'll come back and divide this dough up into 20 pieces. We're going to make 20 dinner rolls out of this. So we waited 10 minutes and our dough should have relaxed a little bit. And now we're going to try to divide it up evenly into 20 dinner rolls. So first we cut it in half. So then I need 10 out of each of these. Let's cut this in half. And I need 5 out of this and 5 out of this. And we'll just continue dividing that up until we get our 20 dough balls to make dinner rolls out of. So I've got my dough cut up into 20 pieces, and I have a baking dish here. It is 8.5 inches by 13.5 inches, and it's been well buttered. And we're going to take our pieces of dough. We're going to get them put into a round shape. Try to get a real smooth top. And put them in our baking dish. And we're going to do 4 across and 5 the long way. And there are our 20 dinner rolls. They're all kind of the same size. Not perfect, but I think it's going to do fine. Now I'm going to cover these with plastic wrap and let them rise for 1 hour. In about a half an hour, I will turn the oven on and start preheating it to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, our dinner rolls have been rising for an hour and they've more than doubled in size. It's time to get them into the oven. Now the oven has been preheated to 375 degrees, so we're all ready to go. And the dinner rolls are out of the oven. Now I forgot to say how long to cook them for, so 15 to 20 minutes. Actually, I had these in for 18 minutes, and they look pretty good. Now we have a little bit of melted butter. We're just going to brush on the top. I think it helps with taste, and I think it also helps keep them a little bit softer. And there they are. They look wonderful and they smell wonderful, and I bet they taste wonderful as well. We're going to let them cool down just a little bit before we take them out of the baking dish. Now, to get them out of the baking dish, I'm going to put a cooling rack on top and then try to flip the whole thing over. I think this will work. Oh yeah. And I have another cooling rack here. We'll flip them back. There. That worked pretty slick. Well, let's take a closer look. They look pretty nice. They look pretty nice. Got them pretty even in size too. That's unusual for me. Looking good, looking good. Let's give one a try. They just sort of tear away from each other. And we ought to be able to open it right up. And there it is. It looks really nice and soft and fluffy inside. Let's put a little butter on one and give it a try. Here we go. Nothing like the flavor of fresh baked bread. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.